Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today, I'm going to start this video out by thanking you guys for getting me over 2,000 subscribers. Greatly appreciate you guys watching, subscribing. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And I just love having you guys come along and sharing these videos with me. So today we're going to move on. If you saw the last video, we made a pattern for a wallet, and I'm making it out of probably around maybe 4 to 6 ounce pre-dyed leather. It's kind of a dark chocolate color, and I'm mixing in some green canvas along with it. So I've made a couple of tweaks in my mind since I made this pattern on the last video. Again, if you haven't seen that, pop back and check that out. Today we're going to move on. We're going to complete this. So come on in and let's get started. All right, so the first thing I want to do is go ahead and take my piece of leather that I've got. There's that dark chocolate brown on the finished side, and I want to take my large pattern that is the actual size or outside dimensions of the wallet, and I'm going to go ahead and draw and cut that first. And I do have more of this leather. This is not all that I have, but I cut a smaller piece so it'd be easier to work with on the table. So again, I did make a couple of tweaks in my head after I thought about this, after I made my pattern. I haven't changed my pattern at all. I'm just going to add something to it. So when I get there, I'll tell you what that's going to be. So I want to go ahead and cut that pattern out on that full size. And again, this will actually be the outside dimensions of the wallet. And I'm just cutting the straight sides right now, and then I'll go back and do those rounded corners that I put in the pattern. They're not super defined, they're just enough so that we don't have a pointed corner. So basically just kind of knock that corner off of it. And you could cut it like I'm doing on small angled cuts to round that off, or if you wanted to, you could actually cut a radius on there. For the smaller they are, I like to just cut multiple cuts around that corner. If it's a large radius, doesn't bother me. Go ahead and just cut it in one cut. So any of that needs to be trimmed up, that looks pretty good. That corner right there needs to be trimmed up a little bit. I want them to match up as much as possible. Alright, so there's that piece. There it is before it's folded over. And then that gives you an idea of what it would be like when it's completed. Now, I've got the two card holders. That was going to be leather and canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut two pieces out of canvas. And one will be left because it's got a rounded edge on it. And then all I have to do is flip that over, and that'll be my right with the rounded edge. So I'll flip it end for end. Put those two ends together so I only have to make one cut right there. Draw around my pattern. I go ahead and cut that out. There's where they meet. Go ahead and cut both of those at the same time, all the way down. And then finish trimming the bottom here. Well, here's where it gets a little interesting. I'm gonna trim that rounded edge because I put a rounded edge on the insert, the card insert, the same as I did on the outside of the wallet. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to take, since I have these cut out, I'm going to take my lighter and I'm just going to kind of singe the edge of that. Just to get all those frays and those ends that I cut, get them burnt so that they don't keep fraying. Now, there's my two card pieces. Let me recut this corner. Clean that up a little bit. All right, so there's my two card pieces. Now, what I want to do is I want to keep those, they're going to be a 1/2 inch apart. If I go by my pattern, there's a 1/2 inch of space in between there. So I'm going to go ahead and insert another piece of this canvas to hold the bills. That's the part that I got thinking about after I made my pattern. Is like, these would separate, these card inserts would separate the bills, but the cards would be touching the bills. I need one more layer to keep those totally separate, and so I'm going to make it out of this canvas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it 1/2 the size of the wallet so I can put a hem on it. On the top and on the bottom. That way it's got a finished edge, and then the ends will be stitched into the wallet. So I've got my marks. Go ahead and cut this piece. And I was going to hand stitch all this, but I changed my mind. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to sew it with a machine. I think it should do okay because of the thickness and how soft it is. So there's my large centerpiece there. I have plenty of excess canvas. And now this piece is ready to stitch a hem in on the top and the bottom. So we'll set that aside. Here's our full piece. Let's look and see. That goes all the way to the outside edge, no problem. So those two pieces can be set aside. Now for the inside, what I want to do is take these pieces right here, this pattern, and do the same thing on the leather. And I'll show you the method to my madness here in just a minute. there's the exact same size as the pattern, which is the same size as these two canvas card cutout pieces. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut those two out. Then I'm going to lay them on my grid, get the corners. That matches that one, and this one, there it is, will match the other one. So there's the two pieces. I don't want to just put that solid on top of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert part of this canvas, 3/8 of an inch, to stitch with this insert. But I'm only going to stitch the canvas into the wallet, so I don't have to go through 3 thicknesses of leather. I'm just going to go through 2, and then 2 thicknesses of canvas. So it should make it much easier to go through. So I'm going to put this on my grid, and then I'm going to cut 3/8 of an inch off of the end, the straight end, and then that's what it leaves me. It leaves me that 3/8 of an inch where I can stitch that underneath the edge of the wallet, and it doesn't have to be stitched through. Then I've got another, I'll do the same thing on this one. Then I've got another thing that I want to do to set this off, and let me cut 3/8 off at this end. Alright, then I want to make a frame out of this leather. I don't want it solid, or it's just going to cover up my canvas. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut a frame that is 3/8, let's make it 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. I can cut one out and then mark the other one with it, use it as a pattern. And then let's see, what that's going to look like. You won't see any of these marks, by the way, because they'll be face down on top of the canvas. So I'm basically cutting a 3/8 of an inch frame out of this leather that goes on top of the card canvas. And I'll cut one of these, we'll dry fit it, see what it looks like, decide if that's exactly what we want to do. It looks great. That's exactly what I was looking for. Was that framed canvas with that leather. We'll go ahead and mark this one with our other piece that we just cut out. That way we know they're going to be the same. And then we can go ahead and cut that frame out the same way we did the other one. Again, you're not going to see any of these marks that I've made as far as the cutting lines. They'll be hidden inside because it'll go face to face with that canvas. And then there's the second one that's cut out. And what that does is that gives me a frame around the canvas, and it gives me this much of the canvas to tuck under the edge when I sew that together. Now I am going to go ahead and sew this together also first around 3 sides, although probably I'll go ahead and do 4 sides because all that's going to do is stiffen that whole thing up. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of contact cement on this to hold that leather flat since it's been rolled up. So, all right, I buy these really cheap flat brushes or square brushes at Dollar Tree. For this kind of stuff, I could just use them and throw them away. But the reason I like them is they come in different widths. So depending on how much glue you want to put down, depends on which one of these brushes you're going to use. So just use some contact cement. Just put very little, just enough to hold it while I'm stitching. I'm not going to depend on that contact cement 100%. I'm actually going to depend on my stitching, but I am going to depend on it to help me hold that flat while I'm stitching it on the machine. For cheap contact cement, that's pretty sticky. Make sure I don't get this too far on the end there. Okay, there's that one. These little tubes, instead of using and I do use the large can also on bigger projects, but for small projects, these little tubes are very handy. And you can really control how much glue you're putting on there. And then I don't really worry about getting it on my cutting mat because I can roll that right off there as soon as it dries. Alright, so there's that one. And let's go back to the first one here. Push that down. Make really good contact. And what that did, just enough on there to make that nice and flat so I can stitch it. Same way with that one. Made it real nice and flat. I can go ahead and necessary to stitch those. I am using some chocolate brown thread. So I'm going to change the camera angle, get my sewing machine up here, and then I'll be back. Okay, so the first thing I want to stitch is the large bill divider. And I'm just going to fold that over approximately 1/4 of an inch. I should be able to stitch that with no problem. Keeping it fairly consistent because it's not super thick. Back it up and lock that in. Stop. Fold it over. And I'm using my presser foot as my guide here. Hit reverse. Lock that stitch in. And then there's a nice stitch across there, nice and straight. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Fold it over approximately 1/4 inch. About 3 or 4 stitches, then I'll lock it in, come back, go forward again. And that seems to take care of any of that wanting to come loose. Same way I get to the end, hit reverse, go back about 4 or 5 stitches, then come back forward. And then that locks it in. I'm not too concerned about tying or anything on the very ends because I've got it locked in on all 4 corners. Plus I'm gonna stitch down this way in the leather, so that's going to keep that from. And there's both my hems. You can see them on this side. Then I can take my pieces for my card inserts, and we'll see how this does on this leather. I'll do it the same way. Using that edge of that leather as my guide. doing is I'm raising my presser foot, turning it 90 degrees, and starting my stitch again down the next side. That one I need to go one more. Lock that in at the end because that's where I started, so I didn't need to lock it in at the start because it ended in the same spot. And let's go ahead and see. It turned out pretty nice. And go through that canvas and that leather, okay. And now I'm a little concerned when we get to the going through two thicknesses of leather, what it does. Now that's not that much stitching though. I could do that by hand very quickly. So we'll see if it doesn't want to, if the machine doesn't want to handle it, we'll do that by hand. So. And you can get different needles for these also. Like there's certain needles that are made for denim, thinner materials. And then there's the other side. Did a real nice job. So I've got the two card inserts stitched. I've got the bill divider stitched. Now it's time to put this puzzle together with all the pieces, and we've got the bill divider would go down first. Let's see, this would be the bottom here. So yeah, because I'm just going to fold this over. So that's going to come down approximately a ½ inch, and that follows my pattern also. So let's see if I come down a ½ inch on that side. Yeah, that's going to be just about right. Then my card dividers would go in there like so. And remember, I had approximately a 1/2 inch separating those where this folds. And then this whole entire thing would fold over. And then stitch down the side here. So I'm going to hold this together and let's see if we can actually get this started. Trim those off. I did a nice job. I'm surprised that it went through two thicknesses of leather and 2 thicknesses of canvas. Kind of shocks me a little bit. After I looked at it, I didn't think it was going to be able to do it, but let's see how it does on this other end. Trim all my thread off. And I got a little bit of canvas there. So now I've got, here's what we ended up with. It stitched it just fine. Here's the inside. There's my card dividers or holders there, one on each side. Here's the bill divider. So now we can put our bills on this side, cards on this side, separate, and then we'll work on this, getting it broke in as far as folding it over. So there's the finished size, folded over to go in the rear pocket. And again, if you wear that a little while, that'll break in and be nice and flat. Open it up. There's our separators inside. It's got our leather frames around them. And then there's our bill separator. So pretty quickly done. Pretty impressed with this machine to be able to go through 2 thicknesses of this leather and 2 thicknesses of the canvas. And this is a Brother portable, full size, but it's portable, LX 3817G. And you can buy this on Amazon, or you can get it at Walmart for under $100. So it's just a decent. I've got two of these. I've got another one at home, and it just does a really good job for a very reasonable cost. All right, thanks again for the 2,000 plus subscribers. This project turned out really better than I thought it would. Got the dividers with the frames. There's the card dividers. There's the bill divider right there. And that's just canvas. The card dividers have canvas and leather framed. The wallet itself is leather. Decent little project. It didn't cost very much. I don't have a lot of material in this project, so I've probably got maybe the canvas, the leather, maybe $5, $6 in this. So I don't have much material money in this. So thanks for coming along. Thanks for sharing this time. Again, thanks for the 2,000 plus subs. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate all the comments. So shoot me a comment, and I'll get back with you. Until next time, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.